as children to cling together.
Betty Maxwell, in her book, says that he would shout and threaten and rant at the children until they were reduced to pulp. That's a quote.
So Gillian is 7.
Len has spoken about her early life, and she said it was lots of stick and very little praise, but she said it was also inspiring.
She was ostensibly her father's favourite daughter. He treated her like he did all his children. One moment they were in favour, one minute they were not.
I think she was a little spoiled. I think I could see that.
A little spoiled? A little spoiled? She's the heir to a massive media mogul. Just a little spoiled? Yeah, dude. Just a tad bit, just tiny, you know? Kind of like the ad breaks at the top of the hour, which are tiny. And, as a matter of fact, impossible to watch if you just subscribe, which is what you need to do if you don't want to see these ads. If you want an ad-free broadcasting experience, all you need to do is subscribe, either for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime.
Avoiding ad breaks.
You can use Twitch Prime here, or you can use an ad block or a VPN, but the 1-minute ad break is coming right now.
Maybe it was my parents feeling guilty that they had ignored her really for the first few years of her life.
She didn't have any reason to worry while her father was alive. He even set her up with a job with one of the football teams that he had owned.
And he installed her in the management. So at the age of 22, she is now suddenly among the executives at a football club. Glenn did various work for her father's Mirror Group newspapers. Her father had started these sweepstakes.
I'm waiting.
God, I feel so bad for her. At the age of 22, she became an executive for a football team. That's crazy, dude. Man, so sad. She was just a little spoiled. You know, just a little bit.
Make one of you.
Leave Ghislaine alone.
Maxwell enlisted Ghislaine to help promote the sweepstakes. There's a photograph of her standing in a messy office with all the entries strewn about the floor.
The Maxwells were mixing with people right at the top of British society, and members of the royal family were part of this circle. Prince Andrew has spoken about his friendship with Ghislaine, and he met her when she was at Oxford University.
She had very good connections because she was very well educated and she was the son of her father. The daughter of her father.
I'm not even sure if I realised what a socialite was then, but I suppose she was becoming a socialite.
This just proves to me that British people love royalty so much that as long as you're wealthy and as long as you're like the new type of royalty under capitalism, i.e. a billionaire, they don't care if you successfully sex traffic children for one of the most prolific international sex criminals of all time. Like, they will literally write and talk about you as though you have done nothing wrong and you are simply a victim of circumstance when they're giving you the background. Like, there is no shot. Can you imagine anyone being talked about this way? Oof, bad take. Oh, God. My favorite thing is when people just say, oof, bad take with no follow-up. You have 60 seconds to immediately issue a follow-up to that, or you will be permanently banned. Have fun. 60 seconds. Dude, are you kidding? Another incredible take.
Thanks for the year hassle.
It's absolutely wild. This, unironically, reads like propaganda. It reads like propaganda, as though they are rushing to paint a narrative. It's crazy to me.
Maxwell, you know, for a very rich man, had virtually no interest in possessions. One of the few possessions that he really cared.
What? Dude, what are you talking about, dude? He is literally a billionaire, dude. What are you saying, dude?
Bad take, chat.
Okay, what did that guy, what was his name? Layman or whatever? Did he respond? Because I can't see. What was the guy's name? Lamoston 7. I'm sorry, just let me eat my pancakes. Oh, account created June. Okay, well, that's clearly a sock account anyway, so sorry, your sock has now been banned.
About was his yacht, which he called the Lady Ghislaine. What the other children thought when he named his yacht after his youngest daughter, I don't know.
It was the Lady Ghislaine that featured in the darkest hours of the Maxwell family's lives.
True.
What happened on that yacht would lead to an incredible worldwide scandal.
What do you say about reports that some of the...
A scandal that would devastate her family.
And it would come to really turn Ghislaine's life upside down.
Dude, this is absolutely... This is one of the most insane things I've ever... This is one of the most insane documentaries I've ever watched on this channel. We watch killers, murderers, rapists all the time. I have never seen people talk about someone who systematically groomed minors so that his boyfriend could rape them in this way, ever. There's more. There is so much more. There's 4 parts. That's just part 1.
Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was a publishing tycoon in England, but Robert Maxwell wanted more, to go international. He gave Ghislaine a job at his new paper, The European.
Every weekend, there's a newspaper that brings Europe to life.
The new paper was a kind of USA Today for Europe, and there was a funny ad where lots of kind of very rich people wearing sunglasses, and one writer actually called it the newspaper for people who wear sunglasses.
Open it up, and you open up Europe.
He just wanted to keep growing, keep expanding. He wasn't satisfied in Britain and Europe, he wanted to get to America. And where better than the New York Daily News, because it was almost bankrupt.
The new owner of the Daily News, Bob Maxwell. Bob!
The tabloid king comes to New York, and there at his side was his daughter, Ghislaine.
She was often with him and hosting cocktail parties for him and generally being at his side.
You know, she should be this kind of glamorous figurehead of the Maxwell empire.
It was reported back then that his hope was that she might marry a Kennedy and meld 2 great dynasties into one.
Maxwell himself is lauded as this great hero who's kind of come to save New York. And so when Maxwell buys it, there's this extraordinary atmosphere. People burst into spontaneous dancing in the street. And Maxwell's ego is just absolutely kind of, you know, he's thrilled to bits. One of Maxwell's curious things was he had this weakness for giving people incredibly overinflated titles. And there was a woman called Carolyn Hinsey who worked at the New York Daily News.
And he said, "Young lady, you'll be my communications ambassador." And I was like, "No, I won't. No, I won't. No, no, no." But then I called the editor and he said I had to do it because the man had just bought the paper. When he realized the Daily News didn't have its own kitchen, he moved us to the Waldorf for $4,000 a night to a huge suite where he could have many rooms, we could have an office. He had a kitchen, a dining room. The butler could serve him there. I remember at the Waldorf there was an elevator and you could go up to the roof. But if he didn't like somebody or they had made him mad, he would send them up in the elevator and then bring the elevator down and trap them on the roof in the sun. And then they'd call down like an hour later, "I'm still up here." And he would just be laughing that this jerk this, other names that he might use, was stuck on the roof, and he enjoyed that. The first time Ghislaine came sniffing around for a job, she wanted to be the fashion editor of the New York Daily News, a newspaper that covered murders and sports. And I don't think she was used to being told no, because when Maxwell told her...
I wonder why, dude. It's kind of funny that, like, at least the Americans are just like, yeah, fuck these people. You know what I mean? That gives me a little bit hope for this fucking dumbass country. I mean, we have our own brand of royalty who we also hype up like this. But at least the American is like the voice of sanity here for a brief moment, just being like, yeah, these fucking British people, they're just like so weird and dumb, like the way that they were behaving.
No, she seemed surprised. Like, but you just bought the paper. Why can't I have this job? Because the job doesn't exist and the editor doesn't want you. That's why.
And so about 9 months after he buys the New York Daily News, he decides to go out for a cruise on the Lady Ghislaine all by himself. The crew describes him on this vacation as being in a great mood.
The BBC documentary Robert Maxwell Downfall shows extraordinary video taken by the crew during that trip. The video would give no clue that anything was wrong. Maxwell is out swimming. Everything seems fine.
Naked?
But then in the morning they look for him and they cannot find him. It seems that in the night he has gone.
What's your problem lumping all British people together? Dude, of course these are not the average British people. What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Why would you ever take ownership over these psychopaths?
Overboard. And it is a huge story.
I mostly watch for the
A body
actress
has
who's
been found
good stream.
in the sea off the Canaries. It would appear very much as if it is that of our father.
Well, I mean, it marked a turning point for all of us.
One of the most powerful publishers in the world has died. Robert Maxwell. He disappeared
just
today
swimming
from his
away.
yacht.
While the official cause of death was a heart attack, a lot of people didn't buy it.
Nobody was sure what happened. Some thought it was an accident, others thought suicide.
Ghislaine, however, uniquely in our family, has always thought he was murdered. And she's alone in that. It's her profound conviction that that is what happened.
The world's press basically flocked to the Canary Islands in the hope of finding out what had happened.
It's Ghislaine who takes the lead, and she stands on the deck of the boat that bears her name and gives a press conference.
I want to...
Hey, by the way, not Mossad, by the way. 6 serving and former heads of Israeli intelligence services attended that funeral in Israel, by the way. Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir eulogized them, and he stated, he has done more for Israel than can today be told, by the way. But yeah, I'm anti-Semitic for saying he was absolutely working with Mossad. Yeah. Just, yeah, it's not Mossad, dude. Oh, you're crazy. Certainly did not sneak airplanes in for 1948. A book about it exists. Robert Maxwell, Israel Super Spy, The Life and Murder of a Media Mogul. Oh, yeah, 100%. This is actually a PR op. It's wild. It is wild that this is even that this even came out the way it did. Like right now, Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison. For those of you who don't know, if you've never heard of this person, if you were living under a fucking rock and you just started watching this documentary and you're like, why are you shitting on this person? Is it because you hate rich people or whatever? Let me just describe to you, like, she's currently in prison for being Jeffrey Epstein's madam, okay? Like, this is not a random person. It's just like a rich fail daughter. This is a rich fail daughter who facilitated the sex trafficking of minors alongside her ex-boyfriend and later on her partner in crime. Victims that have come out and talked about it said that she also participated in the raping as well. So, you know, that's just a little fun fact about this girl boss that we are hearing the backstory of.
Thank the press for their...
But then again, British media or British connected media and defending pedophiles, I mean, it goes hand in hand. Reactionary ass, Tory ass British media consistently defending pedophiles, of course.
courtesy and consideration.
Robert Maxwell was Jewish, and he was a big friend of Israel. His funeral took place in Jerusalem, and then just a few weeks later, this massive scandal drops.
It was discovered that he had looted hundreds of millions of dollars from his employees' pension funds.
What do you say about reports that some of the funds from the Mirror pension went missing after your father's death?
No comments on that.
The total amount missing from the Mirror pension funds came to £763 million.
Now his sons are trying to unravel the web of financial affairs the tycoon left behind.
Interesting.
Two sons, Kevin and Ian, were actually tried for fraud in connection with the pension money, but they were acquitted and cleared of any wrongdoing.
Totally exonerated. We had simply no idea that our father was stealing money from the pension funds of the Daily News. Absolutely and totally, utterly exonerated. Yeah, hey, by the way, fun reminder that Robert Maxwell did not care about material possessions. Did not care about material possessions, except to the tune of $763 million stolen from the pension fund of the journalists alongside his children.
Unfortunately, our father's business collapsed, and that caused all of my siblings, including Ghislaine, an enormous difficulty.
They had to leave the family house.
Yours, madam, thanks.
And, you know, Maxwell's possessions were...
Oh, sorry, it was pounds, as in it's more than $1 billion, of course. It's pounds.
Auctioned off. Humiliation doesn't come much more public than that.
And 300, 320, at 350.
It was not a good time to be a Maxwell. And certainly not in England.
And life was unbearably cruel because the man she loved the most in the whole world...
Absolutely devastating that the father had been gone. And money was tight in the family, of course.
...was dead, and he was disgraced. And to bear his name was an extra disgrace on top of all of that.
The next time I met her, she seemed like a very different person.
Bro, if this documentary, it's at a certain point just says, like, you can't get mad at Ghislaine because that's just Scorpio behavior or that she has NPD, I'm going to shut it off. I'm just letting you know ahead of time that we are 20 minutes into this documentary and they have literally just defended Ghislaine. Like, they're setting this up as though she is the victim here. And they're all being so dastardly towards this beautiful woman who was just trying her best. She fell victim to affluenza. You simply do not understand. It was affluenza that caused her to do systematic rapes of minors and sex trafficking.
Someone who had changed overnight. She seemed broken. It was as if somebody had turned the lights and the volume off.
You can see why she gives up on London. She moves herself entirely to New York and into a one-room apartment.
And then
a one-room apartment in New York! Oh, I do declare! Dastardly! I'm losing it! This poor daughter of British royalty! A one-room apartment in New York!
She met Jeffrey Epstein.
A tragedy befalls upon the wonderful Maxwell family!
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch.
And that's when Jeffrey Epstein took advantage of her state. Her mental faculties were not in order.
Christmas 1991, a journalist for Vanity Fair visited
I have to pee
Elaine
so bad,
in
I'll
her
be
New
back in a
York
second.
apartment and found her surrounded by newspaper cuttings about
Oh my God, this is her one-bedroom apartment in New York? Shut the fuck up!
her father.
He said he didn't recognize her. This glamorous woman that he had apparently known had somehow been transformed.
She was pretty much on her own. She had a few friends.
Were you worried about your sister at this time?
I mean, Ghislaine's pretty resilient as a personality.
She said, rather presciently as it turned out, "You haven't heard the last of the Maxwells."
So it's about a year after her father's death when a tabloid reporter and photographer apparently spotted her. Ghislaine is pictured in an airport, but a story that accompanied the photos notes that she was not by herself.
The newspaper wrote, "It is to this man that 30-year-old Ghislaine has turned to ease the heartache of her father's shame. His name is Jeffrey Epstein."
I don't think she could have found a greater facsimile to her father than Jeffrey Epstein. He came from nothing. He talked his way into position after position.
What was understood about Jeffrey at that time was that he was a former high school math teacher who had some sort of genius equation for solving the markets and built himself up from like nowhere in Brooklyn.
Epstein worked his way into a job on Wall Street.
Dude, this is, wow. Hold up. Did I hear that right? Hold up. Jeffrey Epstein was a self-made prolific rapist.
At Bear Stearns.
I didn't skip part 2. We just watched part 2, man. Literally, look. Do you see this? That's when she met Jeffrey Epstein, is how it ended.
And then somehow he connects with Leslie Wexner.
Leslie Wexner is a billionaire. He's the founder of the Limited Company. They own Victoria's Secret.
They own Ohio, okay? Remember those dudes that we saw earlier in Ohio? These people? Wexner is their god, okay?
Wexner apparently hit it off, and Epstein begins to tell people that he's a money manager for billionaires only. But at the time, the only publicly known client was Leslie Wexner.
And what he does for that one client, I don't think anybody really totally knows yet, but he becomes this ultra-rich, mega-rich guy.
Ghislaine has been asked in depositions about how she met Jeffrey Epstein.
When did you first meet Jeffrey?
Some point in 1991.
And did Jeffrey know your father?
No.
How were you introduced to Jeffrey?
Some friend introduced us.
I had no knowledge of their life or life that Ghislaine was leading in any great detail. I met him briefly.
What were your impressions when you did?
You can meet some people you really feel, this is a great guy to have a drink with. I never had that impression. But he was clearly an intelligent man, and he had a charisma.
I actually saw them together for the first time in Palm Beach. You know, I was surprised. She spoke the Queen's English, and Jeffrey was quite the opposite.
He's from Brooklyn. He speaks Brooklyn. And the question is, what drew them together? The theories are...
fucking minors. There, I said it. Pedophilia. Being a nonce. Supplying royalty and world leaders with, you know, a steady supply of that.
His money, her Rolodex.
Ghislaine brought a lot to the table as far as contacts.
This is Jeffrey Epstein at a party in the Upper West Side, 1995. But on the other end of the room was Ghislaine with Prince Dmitri of Yugoslavia.
My father was an extraordinarily well-connected man, so she had grown up in that world and was, able to move in it very freely.
NBC unearthed this video from 1992, and it's taken at Mar-a-Lago. And in the foreground, you see Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. And in the background, there's Ghislaine Maxwell.
In 1993, just a year into Bill Clinton's presidency, Ghislaine Maxwell is pictured, along with Epstein and the president, at a donor's reception in the White House.
She got back her old life. The limousines, the helicopters, the private jets.
This woman who had lost everything because of a man, her father, suddenly had everything because of another man. But at the same time, with Epstein, what he wanted was women, and in some cases, increasingly younger women, according to some of the victims that have come forward in this case.
It's around that time, starting in 1994, that federal prosecutors now say that Maxwell assisted Epstein in the sexual exploitation of underage girls. They allege that Maxwell helped Epstein to recruit, to groom, and ultimately abuse girls as young as 14.
Ghislaine was 100% the lady of the house at Jeffrey's. He made that very clear. We knew who was in charge, and it was Ghislaine.
Maria Farmer was a 25-year-old artist working as a receptionist at Jeffrey Epstein's New York townhouse, which is where she says she got to know Ghislaine Maxwell.
I remember one day Ghislaine was asking me about my family, and I said, well, actually, I have the most amazing sister in the world. And I'm telling Ghislaine that she's still in high school. She was a junior. And I said, I think she's ready to start looking at colleges soon. And then she had this great idea that I should talk to Jeffrey about Annie's education. What I
Great idea.
understood was that Maria had a very wealthy boss and that he might want to help me with school.
Seems legitimate. It seems like this is this philanthropic couple that likes to help high-achieving students out.
Annie has alleged that Epstein invited her to his ranch in New Mexico.
If you can get a documentary about yourself like this, when you're already caught in 4K, 8K, whatever, I'm already surprised that she's in jail to begin with. Which, by the way, she wasn't until, Jeffrey Epstein was again. So that's kind of crazy that she's even in jail.
For what she understood to be a meeting with a group of high-achieving students.
Epstein called my mom to talk a little bit about what would happen while I was there.
As he said, there would be about 20 to 25 students. I asked Epstein at that point, who's going to be the chaperone, and he said, Ghislaine.
I arrived at the airport and there was a man with a little sign that had my name on it. It was the first time I'd ever experienced something like that.
Annie gets there, there aren't all of these other kids. There is no school program. It's just Jeffrey, Ghislaine, and now 16-year-old Annie Farmer.
Hi, everyone. George.
Okay, come on, dude. This is where they have to start actually talking about the victims,
This is a
right?
picture I took of Annie. I got her ready for prom. So she's 16 here. When I look back at those photos now of myself at that time, I feel like I was a baby. And Jeffrey was calling. When she was getting ready for prom, he was calling to talk to her.
Annie Farmer is one of the underage victims at the center of the criminal case against Ghislaine Maxwell.
2 months.
Maxwell has pleaded not guilty.
Past 1 month.
ABC News first spoke to Annie Farmer in 2019 about her experiences with Maxwell and Epstein, and about what she says happened to her at his ranch in New Mexico. Can you just sort of describe the New Mexico property?
The ranch was not in Santa Fe, it was really in the middle of nowhere. I think it might have actually been a temporary residence that they had while the main property was being developed.
Upon arrival, your expectation was this was some kind of group thing for students, right?
Right.
So when you get there, it's not. So what you think was happening, and then what did you see?
It wasn't an immediate alarm. It was just sort of, okay, I guess, you know, this is somewhat different than what I must have misunderstood. When I first met Ghislaine, she was very charming. She was witty and quick and instantly engaging in conversation. I remember I had, you know, brought some homework with me that I needed to work on. And so I think I was actually doing a paper about some British writers. And so I remember, you know, talking to Ghislaine about that. And I felt quickly comfortable with her. And as a young woman, I looked up to her as, you know, maybe an older sister type. We went shopping in Santa Fe, and she took me to the sort of natural food store. She was encouraging me to pick out things that I might like. You know, so it just felt like girl time together. The first thing that gave me pause was I remember being in this living room area with Epstein and Maxwell, and Maxwell telling me that Epstein really liked to get foot rubs and that it would be a good idea for me to learn how to massage his feet. I think if Epstein had been suggesting that, I would have been clearly alarmed. But because it was her, I was more open to that. They were really, really good at figuring out how to push boundaries so that I didn't say, no, I'm not gonna do this. I just felt uneasy, but did it. The next thing I remember is we went to the movies in a theater in Santa Fe, and we were kind of waiting around in the mall outside of the theater. And I remember Maxwell sort of acting like she was going to like pull Epstein's pants down. They were doing it with each other. They didn't do that to me, but it was weird.
16, by the way, at the time.
Epstein sat himself next to me and very quickly started holding my hand and caressing me and kind of touching my feet and my leg. He did not appear to be hiding it from Ghislaine, which was odd to me.
Annie describes in court filings what she says happened next. She says Maxwell repeatedly insisted on giving her a massage.
I laid on the table and I was very aware that the door was open and I could be seen getting a massage. And then at some point she just takes the sheet down so she, you know, exposed my breasts. And I feel uncomfortable. I feel like Epstein can probably see me right now. And she touches me around my chest, but blurring the boundaries of normal or not normal. This was such a scary situation for me. So I just needed to just to manage that and to go on as if everything was normal.
She is isolated on this ranch in New Mexico. She has no way to communicate with anyone. She's alone there with two adults she does not know. She's only 16 years old.
I was sleeping in a small room. You know, I was in my pajamas under the covers, and Epstein just sort of bounded in and said, oh, I'd like to cuddle. Of course, he wasn't waiting for me to agree to that. He got into bed with me then. This was one of those boundary violations that was so clear, but knowing she's there, it makes me confused. Well, if they're partners, why? That doesn't make sense.
Annie says that Epstein physically...
This came out recently, and it kind of corresponds to this also PR piece, how Robert Maxwell rose from poverty and corrupted his daughter Ghislaine back in February 6, 2021. And I feel like there is a deliberate propaganda effort to kind of sanitize Ghislaine Maxwell and her actions by, putting the spotlight on her father, who's already dead, so it doesn't really matter, who's already known as a bad guy, and away from Ghislaine, who at this point is a fully developed, fully grown adult human being who has complete autonomy over her own actions and is facilitating in, as you can see here, in child abuse and sexual assault on minors.
Restrained
Sex
her and
trafficking
started
of minors.
pressing up against her, and she says she was frozen in fear.
I do remember getting out of bed and getting into the bathroom and shutting the door. I didn't want to admit what was going on was going on.
My sister never shared with me anything about what had happened with Ghislaine and Jeffrey. I didn't understand until much later. They thought it was okay to touch a 16-year-old, the person that I loved more than anyone in the world, and there is nothing okay about that.
In 2019, Annie Farmer filed a lawsuit against Jeffrey Epstein's estate and Ghislaine Maxwell. She eventually accepted an offer from the Epstein Victims Compensation Fund, which required her to drop the lawsuit.
Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers have said in court filings that Maxwell denies she was part of any of the activity that Annie Farmer says took place.
Looking back at the series of events now, it's just so clear how Maxwell was a really important part of the grooming process, and they worked together as a team, I think.
Annie Farmer is only one of a number of women who will make accusations about Ghislaine Maxwell, not all of them underage.
She told me to give Jeffrey what he wants, because Jeffrey always gets what he wants.
He was behind the curtain, but she was the puppeteer, you know, orchestrating it all.
Okay, we just watched part 4. This is the last part.
By the year 2000, Ghislaine Maxwell appears to have moved to a $5 million mansion on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, about 5 blocks south of Jeffrey Epstein's mansion.
He was in her life, for sure, but she was living in her place, and he was living in his place, so they were not a couple in that.
Yeah.
We just watched part 4, and now we're on to part 5. I know that, you know, sometimes Twitch chat isn't the smartest, especially when they collectively say stuff. But I think you know basic math, right?
Sense.
I do believe she fell in love with him to the point where she wanted to marry him, and it was Epstein who did not want to marry.
At some point, their relationship became more of a business relationship where she has admitted in depositions that she managed his far-flung properties.
I hired assistants, I hired architects, I hired decorators, I hired cooks, I hired cleaners, I hired gardeners.
Ghislaine was asked if she had ever hired massage therapists for Jeffrey Epstein.
From time to time, I would visit professional spas. I would receive a massage, and if the massage was good, I would ask that man or woman if they did home visits.
We met at the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills. This tall woman, polished, clean cut, just comes waltzing in and said, "Hi, my name is Ghislaine. Nice to meet you."
Shantae Davies was 21 years old, training to be a massage therapist. And she says that one day she's asked by her instructor to come join her for a massage appointment.
I mean, she was friendly and warm. She wanted to know where I was from, what my plans were for my life. So we finished our session, and then she offered to have me fly out for the weekend to work as her masseuse in Palm Beach.
She's not worse than Jeffrey Epstein. She's just as bad.
I was 22 years old, and it was going to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, traveling the world, being a personal private massage therapist.
Teresa Helm, who filed a lawsuit against Jeffrey Epstein's estate, says that she was also studying to be a masseuse in the early 2000s, and that she was approached with a job offer to work for a wealthy couple.
I was told Miss Maxwell was the one that would be who I'm hired for, and you will go meet her in New York City and interview with her. I walked to Miss Maxwell's townhouse. I was let in, and I was immediately directed to go up the stairs. She came out and she introduced herself to me, and, you know, right away she was very polite, she was well-spoken, and then it was like, okay, let's do the massage now. There was a certain point where, you know, she fell asleep, so I'm thinking it's going really well. She then went on to tell me that there was a second part to the interview. You're going to go meet my partner, Jeffrey. And that was the first time I had heard anything about meeting anyone else. She told me to give Jeffrey what he wants, because Jeffrey always gets what he wants.
After we landed in Palm Beach, I just remember Ghislaine and I driving in the Mercedes with the top down and having this talk on the way to the mansion. She was explaining that her partner was sort of the Ralph Lauren type, and did I like that type? Getting out of the car as we pulled into the garage, she turned to me and said, just do whatever he likes and you won't have a problem.
I walked up to this really elaborate door. It seemed very castle-like to me. So I was let in, and Jeffrey said, come on with me to my office. And we walk into that office room, and then he asked me for a foot massage, and he puts his foot up on my leg, and I start giving him a foot massage.
I got the massage table out and got it all set up. Jeffrey came in, gave me a little once-over. I started the massage, and he was asking me questions, how I liked massage school. He flipped over, and he asked if I minded if he touched himself. And I freeze. I remember being so confused. I remember not knowing whether or not Ghislaine knew. I didn't know what to say. I said, sure.
He starts pushing his foot closer and closer to me, and to the point where his foot is literally pressing up against my body. He grabbed my chin in his hand, and he said to me, I know I can always trust a woman who shows her gums when she smiles. I was very scared. And so I get up from the couch and I start, walking towards the door, and he grabbed me from behind, and I just completely froze, and he assaulted me in the hallway. When I made it to the door, he said to me, don't do anything that I wouldn't do. I took that as a direct threat,
Teresa and Shantae's stories end very differently. Teresa says that she never spoke to them again. Shantae says that she continued to occasionally work for and travel with Epstein and Maxwell, and she says that Epstein sexually assaulted her on multiple occasions.
I had already come from a background in which I had been taught to accept abuse. It just became a situation where I just got deeper and deeper into it, and I didn't know how to pull myself out, really. I mean, now looking back, I definitely feel like, how did I not see that Ghislaine was, the puppeteer in it all?
Ghislaine Maxwell is a master manipulator. She knew how she was playing me. She knew how she was setting me up. She knew exactly that she was delivering me to the home of a predator.
Teresa and Shantae are not part of the criminal case against Ghislaine Maxwell, and they didn't file lawsuits against Maxwell. So Maxwell has never formally responded to their claims. But Maxwell has broadly denied any wrongdoing.
Every allegation should be taken seriously, but that doesn't mean every allegation should be believed without questioning, without scrutiny. Ghislaine has never admitted to any wrongdoing because she's not done anything wrong. She's been fighting about this.
Still think it's a puff piece? Yeah, I think this truly does not cover even half of the crimes, and absolutely makes Ghislaine Maxwell seem significantly more innocent than she actually is. Yes, for those of you who are asking, they literally leave it out. They make it seem like she was manipulated to, be this person originally. And then ultimately, no, this is her lawyer. Of course he's going to say that. I mean, he's a freak. But they make it seem like she is a victim of her circumstances, coming from a wealthy family, and loses all of that wealth and loses her father. She's devastated. That's how she meets Jeffrey Epstein, who is they don't even talk about how they dated and stuff. Yeah, the setup in the first two parts literally leads to that conclusion.
This now in civil and criminal litigation, saying she's innocent.
In 2020, Teresa Helm accepted an offer from Epstein's Victims' Compensation Fund and agreed to withdraw her lawsuit against Jeffrey Epstein's estate.
Ghislaine Maxwell was able to live with relative anonymity, but all of that is about...
Yeah, 3 episodes with no mention of her crimes, then wrapping up with the argument of her innocence from her lawyer. Also, the general narrative that the whole thing is very... She was led down the wrong path by the men in her life. Exactly. Like...
to change. Next tonight, disturbing allegations. A woman claims that Maxwell groomed her to be a sex slave to Epstein and was trafficked to some of his most powerful associates.
She has a photograph in Ghislaine Maxwell's apartment with Prince Andrew.
This is a terrific tale. Cruella de Vil, the daughter of Bob Maxwell. Let's add another president here. Let's add a prince there. It's a concoction, an invention.
Ghislaine holds the keys. She's the keeper of many secrets.
Ask you about all the allegations that have come out, Ghislaine.
Happy New Year.
Do you know Virginia?
Is it possible on any level that you just don't know your sister that well?
Wait, is there another part on this that we're missing? Hold up. ABC News defends Epstein coverage after leaked video of anchor. Oh yeah, this was a while ago, but newly surfaced video of his ABC News anchor unguarded remarks about the network's coverage of the late Jeffrey Epstein has thrown ABC on the defensive. In a leaked video posted Tuesday by the right-wing activist group Project Veritas, news anchor Amy Robach expressed her frustration to a colleague over ABC's failure to broadcast her interview with a key accuser of Jeffrey Epstein. Part 5 came out today. It's not out yet. Deleted but not forgotten. The future of New York City is so bright, I gotta wear shades. Mayor Bill de Blasio. Oh my lord. What was he looking at, dude? Top 3 stories that sound fake but are 100% real. Part 3. You should listen to the 3rd story in this video. It's an interesting topic. Got him. That is a caught in 4K moment. The quality is pretty high. 2020 episodes posted to YouTube usually aren't the whole episode. The full episode would be on the 2020 website, but you usually need a TV login to access. There is still time to be saved. Time is running out. You can be saved, but you must act quickly. What? All it takes is a kiss? What the fuck? Robach complains of the network quash her interview, suggesting that ABC had yielded to the threats from powerful forces, including the Buckingham Palace. Prince Andrew is among those men whom the accuser alleges Epstein trafficked her to sex. The prince's representatives have denied that claim. ABC News executives say their journalists were simply not able to corroborate the details of the reporting sufficiently for broadcast. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Certainly nothing to do. Certainly nothing to do with the, what is this?
The fact that he was obsessed with celebrity.
I don't like these sorts of video setups, chat. It features the content creator too much. It centers the content creator too much. And also, on top of that, it 2 hours until the president comes on, by the way. And it usually doesn't, like, it doesn't show, says a Twitch streamer, lol. Well, that's precisely why I don't like it. Because I'm a Twitch streamer, so it doesn't make for, like, good React content. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, JCS is perfect. JCS is perfect because you don't really see the content creator, so you, like, it's, like, perfect for me to interject. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, the president. That's my real president. This is a format like JCS, Monsters, Season 3 episode, Dellen Millard. Story of Jennifer and Sarah Hart. Robert and Michael Bever. What is this, Minecraft? What is this?
Robert Bever believed that society was useless and wanted to go out in a blaze of glory. His younger brother, Michael Bever, looked up to Robert and was willing to follow with whatever he had planned. This is Monsters.
I feel like this is going to be...
In this season of the podcast, I'm covering cases of parricide. That's the act of a child killing their parents. Some historical examples of parricide are Lizzie Borden, who killed her parents with an axe, and Lyle and Eric Menendez, who shot their parents so many times with a shotgun they were unrecognizable. Unfortunately, some of the cases of parricide don't only include just the parents. The term familicide is used to describe someone who kills their entire family. Used most commonly with family annihilators like Chris Watts or Michael Jones Jr., it also applies to kids who kill their parents and siblings. Paul Mones, an Oregon-based attorney who has worked on parricide cases around the United States, said that between 1% and 2% of homicides in the country involve children killing their parents. The most common cases are of sons who kill their fathers. There's not a lot of information available about the Bever family. Neighbors say that the family of 9 was quiet and reclusive. They lived in a large house in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, about 20 minutes southeast of Tulsa. David and April Bever married in Texas when she was only 15 years old, according to comments she made on her Reddit account. David worked for Samson Resources in the IT department. His coworkers described him as a quiet man who kept to himself. His supervisor, Lisa Wolf, said that he was a nice guy who didn't get involved in office politics, and that was the type of person she liked to work with. The couple went on to have 7 children. At the time of the murders, they were 18-year-old Robert, 16-year-old Michael, 13-year-old Crystal, 12-year-old Daniel, 7-year-old Christopher, 5-year-old Victoria, and 2-year-old Autumn. The youngest was born premature, and April created a nonprofit called Autumn's Hope to raise money to help other people who had children who were born ill or premature. All of the children were homeschooled their entire lives, but none of the homeschooling groups in the area had any interactions with the Bevers.
Jesus Christ.
One of David's previous supervisors even founded the Cornerstone Homeschool Cooperative in Broken Arrow, but she said in an interview that she had never seen them associate with any homeschooling groups. Neighbors said the children only played in their own backyard, and the family seemed to actively stay away from social gatherings in the neighborhood. It seemed that the parents wanted to protect their children from the outside world. It might have something to do with Robert's claim that he had attended preschool outside the home, but he had been molested, which caused his parents to pull him out of the school.
Bro, I feel like, I don't know any of the details of the case at all, but it does... Like, immediately, it triggers, like, every fucking red flag that I have about child abuse. Starting with the father who married the mother at the age of 15 when she was 15 years old, all the way to, like, homeschooling and not letting, children interact with other kids. It does seem like there could be child abuse. I don't know yet. Starting with 7 children. Yeah, that's a lot of kids. That is kind of weird, but still. It could just be Oklahoma, you know what I'm saying? There's Reddit too. Parents are on Reddit.
It seemed as though they let that outside world into their home as they had very few restrictions on internet usage. The children were free to use a number of tablets and computers to access whatever they wanted. Now, I don't believe that media such as the internet, movies, music, and video games cause children to become violent, but it's still a place where they can find inspiration for ideas they're already having. Early on, it seemed as though the boys were interested in the same things as other boys their age. Star Wars, sports cars, and the band Linkin Park. Oh, and we can't forget Minecraft. He made 2 vlog videos where he seems like your average goofy teenager.
Salute. Hey everyone, it's me, Cult Empire. In case you didn't know, you found me by accident, or you're expecting someone else. Yeah, why would you do that? Anyway, this is the second first ever update, which I think is a major improvement. I tried a news report theme last time, that's not very vloggy, is it? So I'm being a little more chillinated, writing stuff, scripting. I'm going to make my first skit soon. Can't show you a sneak preview or it would ruin it. It'll be like a minute long. It's going to be some good stuff. I think it's going to be hilarious. It's going to have a few props in it, which is the only delay. So
what year is this, chat? Like when did this happen? So like where is he? 2007? No, this is like way closer to our time.
I came up with a couple of songs. They aren't parodies though. They're some intense gangster rap type stuff I came up with when I was listening to someone's mixtape.
2013. There it is. The video is right here. 2013. Is when he documented this. Yeah, I don't know why people were saying 2007 when I don't even know if Minecraft was out at that point.
About that, yeah. I had a parody song, but it's probably offensive, so I'm never going to upload it. Now I'm having to write a whole new parody song. You can't explain that. Man! Write a song. Just writing a song. I got that creativity juices flowing. Alright, I also found out that Minecraft is compatible with Windows 8. I heard. I don't know how.
I mean, he strikes me as a kid who is highly intelligent. Like, it doesn't even seem all that weird. Decent posture in front of the camera. Like,
how reliable that is, but it turns out it's just my laptop is a compact I've had for about 4 years, and its graphics drivers are hopelessly outdated, so, speaking of hopelessly outdated, Minecraft 0.6.0 turned out to be a bomb in a bad way. Everyone knows that by now. But my brother lost his Ultimate Survival World because of the 0.6.0 Pocket Edition world-saving glitch. It was awesome. The whole world had been mined out. It was a full-blown city with streets and neighborhoods and a big city center with skyscrapers and hot dog vendors and mimes and pollution. Or maybe I was just cleaning out my closet. The pollution fumes went to my head.
At some point, Robert became interested in murder and started looking at stories about famous serial killers and mass shooters.
Okay, dude, okay, this makes me feel like we should stop watching murder documentaries, dude. Okay. That literally, I feel like that's kind of irresponsible for a channel who literally makes murder documentaries to say, like, letting people arrive at a conclusion like that, even on accident.
Michael looked up to his older brother, and the two shared everything, even their thoughts about committing mass murder. The pair fed off each other, reading stories about Ted Bundy and Richard Ramirez. They idolized school shooters and started talking about wanting to be famous and killing more people than the other mass shooters.
They idolized school shooters and they were homeschooled. This is oh my God. America is so insane that even homeschool has school shooters, dude. What the fuck?
Also reported that they had talked about making a video of their family's murder and posting it to YouTube at a later date. They started watching the movie Rampage. No, not the Dwayne Johnson movie, an independent movie released straight to video in 2009. It takes place in a fictional town in Oregon where a 21-year-old man who hates society believes that he needs to kill as many people as he can to reduce the population and bring balance back to society. He crafts a set of full-body armor and heads into town with an arsenal of weapons.
Isn't this kind of, I mean, it's not a real story, but like something similar to this happened in California, no? With an automatic weapon and like fully kitted out armor. which then